In this session I will go through the particle type halo. Halo is the default type when you create the particle system. We start with the UV sphere, so you can create one using like Shift A, and then you have what I have. I don't have a working file for you to download, so just press Shift A, add your UV sphere, and you're good to go. So we should add a particle system too. Go to particle properties and press the plus sign, and then you have the particle settings. What you can see now is the halo particles, and I will do some small changes on the particle settings. So we do like 10,000 particles, and I also set the lifetime a little bit bigger, so it will be 300, and then it will survive the complete animation. Then in physics I changed the Newtonian to Boyds, and that is because I would like to see the particles to be near this UV sphere when I then later run the animation. So if I now run it, you can see that they are like traveling around this UV sphere, and that is how it should look. If I now would like to render it, I can stop the animation here and then press F12, and it starts to render. The result is only a black image without halo, and the reason for that is that you need to do some more to make the halo visible. In fact, you have to create a specific material, and you also have to add a domain that can contain the halo particles. So what you should do is that you should add a cube into this. So press Shift A, and then select Mesh, and then Cube. And you should make it rather big, so press S for scale, and then scale it like this. And then you can apply the scale as well, so Control A and select Scale, if you don't want to use the menu. And then this will be the domain for the halo particles, and it's also on the cube that you will add the material to make the particles visible. To make it happen, select the cube, go to Material Properties, and select New. Then we have some kind of material. Remove the principle, just press X and add an emission shader instead. So press Shift A, go to Shader, select Emission. Change it to like yellow color, and see so you have it connected to the volume output on the material output. Let us look at the result now. So go to Render View, and you can see that the cube is yellow and it has a volume. And now we need to change the special kind of texture to our material. So in Shade Editor, press Shift A, select Texture and Point Density. In this node you have two options, Particle System and Object Vertices. Since this course is about Particle System, we select that. First parameter is object, and object is the source for the emitter, for the particles, and in our case it's the UV sphere. So select sphere there, and now the node knows what to look for. I will go through other parameters after connecting this node to the emission, so take the density output to the strength of the emission first. And as soon as you do that, you can see the particles. If trying to render it by pressing like F12, you really get some particles. Right now it does not look good. It's like fluffy. When it's rendering and I'm talking, you can see that's mostly completely yellow. When it comes closer to the edges, you might see that it fades off and that you can start to see particles. While it's rendering, I can go through the other parameters on the point density. So space, it can be object space or word space. Object space scales the particles, so they are inside the domain. And this means that they will always be inside the area of the domain, in this case the cube, that you created. But that means that you will get smaller particles, but you will on the other hand, see them all the time. But the disadvantage is that they can be extruded or distorted. And then you have instead a word space. And word space keeps the measurement exactly as they are. No distortion, even if they go outside of the domain. So use this if you want a correct representation. Okay? And the next parameter is the radius. With the current setting, the particles are rather big and fluffy, so it's possible to decrease that value. How the particles are visualized is controlled by the next parameter that is called interpolation. So if you use closest, it will be rather square particles, but if you use linear, as we do here, you will get them a little bit softer. If you use cubic, you will get them very soft. I will now go back to the 3D viewport so you can see the differences. Before changing parameters, I will add a small warning that you need to be cautious of. This is a rather fragile thing. The point density has the habit to crash the software rather easily. When we change the parameters here, it can also be so that it updates or not, or just crash. So be a bit cautious, don't use it too much. I believe it will be rather hard to do some good stuff with it, but it exists and I will get through it. Okay? So if I now change the radius to 0.1, then you can see, if I now update the viewport here, see if I can find it, back again, that the particles are now smaller. And that is of course because we now have a smaller radius. So the radius decides how big the particles should be. However, if you use too small values, it will crash the system. And then we have this interpolation here. I will change it from closest first, or I will change it to closest. Now you could see it looks like lines in the image. So I increase the radius to 0.2, change the space to word space so we get correct scale. And now you can see it looks like squares, and it's not soft at all. However, if I now change to cubic instead, I will get really soft edges here. I will just check so all is updated correctly in viewport. And with closest, if I use that, you get this square cubic look, and cubic will give you the closest, softest look. I know, naming feels wrong. Then you have the resolution. And a new warning here, don't set the value too high. If you have a really low resolution, the texture will be almost spread all over the place. I can put 10 and you can see what happens here. Now you can see that it's hard to see the particles at all. So you can decide with 20 soft edge, with 40 or 50, and then you can notice the particles in a good way. If you go up to 130 or something, that is close to maximum. If you go over that value, it soon will be very unstable and it will crash. So it will also take some time. I will now try with 200, see what happens. It's working hard and you see it really fights here. We keep our fingers crossed, and if we are lucky, we can get the result back. If we are unlucky, then everything crashes. The combination of a low radius and a high resolution makes the machine really work hard. So again, be cautious, but now you know how it works. And then we also have something called color source. Here you can select the particle age, particle speed and particle velocity. So let's have a look at it. Since I started animation, a new particle has been born all the time until the current frame. So to show it, we can use the color source and particle age, and then connect color with color. And when that is done, if you're lucky, you can get things to work and color change on the particles. And if not, then it crashes. Okay, now we're near the end. I'm so afraid that my system will crash when I do this demonstration. So right now I'm really nervous when I do this, because I want you to see everything without being forced to start all over 20 times. Okay, now we see a grayscale. If I now add a color ramp, press Shift A, converter, and then like the color ramp. You can see if you can find it, then the computer thinks a bit after that. And now we place it between the colors here, and now we can control the colors. I think I can take down the resolution to work a little bit faster, so I put it to like 100 instead. And now we can put it in here. Fuck. Yeah, as I said, now it crashed because everything is sensitive. I have to restart it again, of course, but we can just say that now you know how it works. And that's all there is to it. It's so sensitive that it will crash sooner or later, whatever you do. So I don't recommend using it, but now you know at least how to do it. So I will see you in the next session, and I just say bye for now.